Sleepy little week here at the office.
Is anybody here?
Barely. We're here.
Yeah. We're like the kids on the school trip whose parents didn't sign the permission slip. And so we have to stay at the school.
That is just...
While everyone else goes off on the field trip.
That is exactly
we have to
right.
stay and just copy from the dictionary or just read.
Yeah, there's a lot of like housekeeping tasks that I have on my to-do list this week that I'm like, normally I have a million meetings and I can't get to these things. And this week I will. So just light a candle and watch the rain outside and do some organizational tasks.
I know. I'm planning to get way ahead on lessons. Get way ahead on our life group lessons and maybe Sunday school lessons if we can ever nail down what the sermon series is.
Maybe I should just like write all of my sermons.
That's why I'm so really surprised y'all don't do that, because I would, if I definitely had to do it, I would be way in advance. And I don't know if that would confuse me.
I think it has. And a lot of times I'll write a sermon way in advance and then I'm like, man, I wish I would have waited because like now I have this bright idea or whatever.
Well, you can always adapt it. It's just
sometimes it's a totally different
yeah
tangent. So I don't know.
But you're like sitting there writing, and let's see, it's like, let's say a couple of months from now, you're doing your sermon. You're like, y'all, the Winter Olympics. I almost felt like we were behind this time.
I know.
Well, hey everybody. I guess I'll just get started.
Oh, hi.
Before we start getting into all that.
Forgot you guys were there.
I know. Oh, hello. Didn't see you there. Didn't hear you there. Welcome to the Next Day podcast.
The next day on your discipleship journey.
I'm Chad.
I'm Christy.
And it's just us.
It's
just us and spring break.
Of us.
On spring break. No one else is here.
Nah, there's people, but no one else, no guest on our show today.
No. They're here in spirit.
Yeah.
So
you're our guest.
No one
really.
could beat Shannon from last week and her energy and everything.
She is great. Shannon, where are you? Come back.
I know. But no, this is the podcast where you're going to hear us talk about the sermons you got to hear yesterday. So maybe you got to hear Christy at the Element. Woohoo. You got to hear Carl at West Campus. Or Chad at the Traditional. Cricket. Okay, I guess so. So, yeah, I actually got to do a sermon. Hooray. It's been a while. I was a little rusty. I don't know.
And it was like the worst Sunday of the year.
Yeah, but this was the perfect Sunday to where you should have done a very boring sermon. So if someone did fall asleep, you could go, hey, could you not stay up for another hour?
Couldn't you just stay up for 1 hour?
And then use them as a sermon illustration the entire time.
They would definitely come back to church next week after that.
But you can hear those sermons on our YouTube channels or maybe here on the podcast as well. But before we do that, let's get to our icebreaker. So, Christy.
Yes.
Christy, I know I'm already anticipating your answer for this.
Oh, boy.
It's just going to be like, nothing. Anyways.
What is it?
Because we are going, so today we are going to go with some students to this wonderful place called Activate.
Holy Spirit, activate.
It's hard to describe. You just have to see it, but it's almost like these very interactive games where the floors light up and you either have to dodge stuff on the floor, you have to step on certain tiles on the floor. Other rooms have basketball goals, so you have to make certain basketball goals. Other rooms have things you have to find on the wall, and you have to go touch the part of the wall. So it's a very interactive, arcade-like game, very physical, so you have to move around. Anyways, it's one of those places where you see these things existing now, and you're like, where was that when I was little for our birthday parties? So, Christy, where was the ideal place for you to have a birthday party when you were little?
Discovery Zone.
Was it really? Did
Discovery
you live
Zone.
near a Discovery Zone?
Yeah.
Really?
Discovery. I mean, I don't know if I lived
And this is DZ
near it.
Discovery Zone,
Yes,
right?
like
DZ Discovery Zone.
Well, I don't know. I didn't have TV, so I didn't know the commercials.
Oh, yeah. Well,
but
it's something like that.
but I knew Discovery Zone. And yes, I had a birthday, at least one birthday there, and I went to plenty there, and it was so cool. I still think about that, and I'm like, can we not have a Discovery Zone for adults? It would just be so fun.
And for those who don't know what Discovery Zone is, it was, I mean, kind of like the big play palaces at McDonald's.
But it was like the first
and
of
things
its
like
kind.
that, right? But it was just way bigger, like huge. So maybe 10 times the size of what a typical McDonald's or Chick-fil-A one would be.
Right.
So there's slides everywhere, ball pits everywhere. I remember there was a whole room of punching bags, and I remember just going, yeah,
I
and just
remember
punching
the
all of them.
slide that like
The rollers?
The roller slide,
Yes, those are my favorite because they're like.
Yeah, it was anyway. I don't even remember that much about Discovery Zone except just like winding tubes that you could like wander through, and somehow back then claustrophobia was just not a thing for me, so I could just go wherever, and I was not worried. And you like climb on nets and like, I mean, it was just the best.
I feel like somebody was just looking at their child's like hamster setup, and they went, I have an idea. What if we made this for children? What if
honestly, and it was so great.
It's like a big giant fun house, and so you just got to do all this stuff. I think I only remember going to it once because there wasn't one where I grew up, but there was one in a town not too far away, I think. And so, but yeah, so like Chuck E. Cheese, but just not as much arcade. It was just all that stuff. That was cool. Yeah, there's no longer exist. Now they have all the bounce house places. There's like all those everywhere, right? Like,
I mean, they're all over the place. And then there's like Slick City, you know.
Yeah, I need to try Slick City.
It looks really intense. Jesse's really brave. He's gone down like the big slides.
There's one that chunks you up in the air.
He went down that one. Yeah,
it's like a ramp, and you go up in the air.
You go straight down, and then just like up on a ramp.
I hope there's like something soft to land on.
There is, yeah. There's like a big mat.
It's just like a sand pit. It's like, ow. For me, first, like most of my birthday parties, I don't know why, they were at a Mazio's Pizza, and we just played in that playground. I don't know why that was the place I requested every time, but that was just as simple as
you were like, this was so fun last year. I want to do it again.
When I see old pictures of it, I'm like, why did I think that was fun? Especially compared to DZ Discovery Zone. But no, I do remember we had a birthday party at a Tilt Arcade. I think it was a chain, and they were in different places around.
Is that where Tilt is something else now, isn't it?
I don't know. It was just like an arcade. So arcade games, pinball, skee-ball.
They still have one, I think, in Katy Mills Mall.
Do they?
I think so.
I want to say I saw one at Memorial City Mall, not several years ago, and I was like, oh wow, it still exists. The one in Lufkin where I grew up does not exist, but that was a fun place because it was just this big arcade, and then of course we were like all suckers for trying to get all the tickets and try to get cool stuff. But that was like, now when I look back at that, I'm like, why didn't I play the more fun games that didn't involve tickets? Like, because those were the more fun, you know. But I remember having a birthday party there, and it was a lot of fun. And it wasn't until I got to college, junior year of college or something, I had my birthday party at a skating rink, and it was so much fun.
Oh, a skating rink
it was
party
so much fun.
Is still fun. Although I am like, if you're looking for an investment opportunity, somebody's got to do this. Like, there cannot be that much overhead, but build a skating rink, another one other than Mason Skate, because it is the only skating rink in like a 20-mile radius, and like every kid's birthday party is there. It's like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I mean, Thursdays, you can't go there and not be like, just completely just like so full. So I'm like, we need another one. And it cannot be that expensive. You have to have skate rental. And then like the floor, there's probably some like maintenance that has to be done, but like that's it. It's just like the building.
I had relatives up in Iowa who owned a skate rink, and I remember we got to go visit them. But by this time, I was not that into skating. I was not good, and so it kind of scared me. I hate that was the time when I went to go visit that, because they opened it up after hours, and we were able to go around and do stuff. And I was like just not good at it, but I was like, man, how cool! I just remember thinking how cool that was that they owned it, and
that is so cool.
And I just remember being more impressed with their concession stand, going, $1 hot dog, wow!
I know, if you have like
wow.
an ice or a skating rink and then snow cones, like you just freeze ice,
Yeah.
Like freeze water.
We have it all together. This is the easiest thing. How come no one's done this before?
I know.
And then everyone's like, someone's done this before. Like, y'all just don't know half. Insurance is through the roof.
I'm sure that there's like a lot of liability. But anyways, it's Mason's Gate has not updated anything since like definitely at least the 80s.
The music is the same.
Everything's the same. No. The food is the same. And they still just like make a killing. So we should
do a church skate night one night.
Oh my gosh, that'd
just
be so
go
fun.
out there. That would be so much fun.
We gotta rent out the whole place.
Yes, we should. Well, there
we go, making plans.
That's what
next spring break.
Christy and Chad are doing after being pastors. Like, you know what? Let's go to the skate rink business. This is where it's at. Maybe we'll get on a roll with that. I don't know.
The next day skating rink.
And we could make it very cheap, and we call it cheap skates.
Cheap skates. Yes.
Skates.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
Oh.
Anyways, well, fun stuff. All right, so let's talk about the sermon. We are in our Lenten sermon series. This is the third Sunday of Lent, or this was the third Sunday of Lent, and it's all leading up to Easter. We are looking at this series called In the Pressing, which is these events that took place in the Garden of Gethsemane. Which means oil press, which we've learned. And so it just lets you look at this in a little different way as we're just kind of dissecting this passage and just breaking it apart. So I really think that's interesting because there's so much happening in these few, like 10 verses. Is that it? Like it's about 10 or so?
Yeah, it's about 10.
And there's just so much things you can kind of look at and focus on. And so this week we were looking at where Jesus tells his disciples to watch and pray after he's already caught them asleep, because the spirit was willing, but the flesh is weak.
I mean, and what a Sunday to be preaching about this.
I don't think we coordinated this perfectly.
I know. When we lost an hour of sleep and I was sleepy, oh my gosh, I was like, honestly applauding everybody that came to church, because I was like, if I had a choice, I'm not sure. I think I might have been like, this is a jammies and live stream morning.
I can't remember if I've gone on this rant before, but let's say your normal bedtime is what? 10 p.m., right? Let's say you go to bed. Is that too late for you?
I am like
is that too late for you?
In bed. I should be asleep by 10 p.m.
Okay. Well, let's say you always go to bed at 10 p.m. Let's say there's just a typical night where you're like, oh, I'm just going to stay up and watch this movie, or I'm going to do this. And you go to bed at 11 p.m. and then you wake up in the morning. I'm a little tired, but I'm okay. But now let's say, oh, I go to bed at 10 p.m. Oh, but it's the time change. I'm still going to go to bed at 10 p.m., but I'm going to lose that hour. Somehow it just destroys you. And it's like, you already missed an hour. So why is it that drastic?
Because
it's against your choice?
No.
It's against your choice.
The reason why is because you are not waking up with the sun. You are waking up in the dark.
Yeah.
And so it's like
it was odd this morning.
Your melatonin levels have not been, suppressed because of the sunlight, because it naturally happens when you and your body experiences sunlight, your melatonin levels go down, and then when it gets darker, they rise again, and you go, it makes you sleepy and you go to sleep. But because it is dark in the morning now, and it's very jarring that all of a sudden it's like you wake up at like the normal, your normal timer to your alarm clock, but your body's like, no, no, the sun's been waking me up, or the sun is about to come up.
Well, I always wake up when the sun's coming up and I have this flute.
And Sable is like, oh, good morning.
The birds are chirping and they're like, good morning.
Oh, gosh. No, I mean, I wake up in the dark normally.
Yeah.
But, it's like 5:30. But I'm like, now I'm very in my head about this because I'm like, now if I wake up at 5:30, I'm actually waking up at 4:30.
Oof.
So, or what used to be.
Mm-hmm. But yeah. And it was odd. So this morning, I feel like I've already talked about the sermon plenty of times because I didn't tell you this, but I went to the men's coffee over at Humble Grounds
You did this morning?
in Fulshire. So it means I had to drive way out there in the dark.
Oh my
And I was like, there's no way they're meeting this early. The sun's not even going to come up.
Did you tell them that you were going to go?
No.
So you just a surprise
so when I
guest?
popped my head in there, they were like, whoa.
I love that.
Whoa, Chad. I was like a celebrity up in there.
That's amazing.
No, but it was cool. Yeah. So I got to hang out with them and then got to see what that was. I've always heard about that Bible study, and we've talked about it here on the podcast before. I know Carl's talked about it plenty of times. It's just way out there for me. I had to drive way further, and then usually I'm working out, during that time, pumping iron.
Yeah.
And we're working out.
I've been one time. I crashed the men's coffee.
But what this coffee is they meet at this place and
Humble Grounds.
Humble Grounds. They're very
1463.
humble. Yeah. Humble Grounds. And they just go over and they say, hey, who is at the traditional service? And they'll pull out their notes and they'll talk about it. Other people chime in. Who is at the West Campus? Who is at the Element? And so then they just talk about that. And so it was cool just to be in there and to hear their thoughts on stuff.
Yeah.
And to see who's paying attention.
That's right.
Because they could have not gotten it further wrong. They did not get anything we were talking. No, I'm kidding. They're way out there.
I highly doubt that. But also, I think, when people latch on to things from a sermon, it's like that's what the Holy Spirit is speaking to them. So it may not.
Maybe one random little part, and you're like, that was not my main part. And
like
yet, for some reason, to them, it meant a lot.
Theologically, if you are tracking with like the claims that are made, then I'm like, I'm fine. If you think that if you walk away from a sermon I'm preaching and you think that I said that like, there is no such thing as grace or like Jesus did not rise from the dead or something, I'm going to be like, oh, I need to hang it up right now. I need to rework my craft.
Yeah. Well, yeah, so we were talking about this, and this is that scene where the disciples, it's a few of the disciples, Peter and the Thunder Brothers.
That's right.
Yeah. It sounds like a good band name. And so,
that is a good band name.
The Rock and
I think
the Thunder
we
Brothers.
should name the Element Band the Thunder Brothers.
Yes. And so, but they fall asleep. Jesus he invites them to be there with them in the garden. He invites them there. They're there. I'm sure they're happy to be there. I'm sure they're like, oh, yes, we're going to do everything Jesus does. And then they fall asleep. And so then he catches them asleep, and that's where he says, hey, y'all need to keep watch and pray. You don't know when your time is going to come. And the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak.
But it's I also imagine in this entire scene, right? Like they go out to the garden and Jesus is like, he's already told them like, I'm deeply grieved to the point of death. Like, and I'm just imagining Jesus like, like expressing this with like angst and like, just compassion and, or not compassion, well, maybe compassion, but like with, I don't know, just so much emotion, right? Like in what he's saying. And the disciples are just not getting it. They're just like, oh, okay, yeah, Jesus is on like a thing right now. So we're just going to take a little nap.
Yeah, kind of like your friend who goes on like a diet or something. Okay, they're on this now.
All right.
Okay, I'll support them, whatever.
But they just like they have to just be... let's be real, y'all. They had the Passover.
No, and I never thought about this until you and Carl said this. You and Carl it just said, y'all, they just had a big meal and some wine.
Yeah.
And now Jesus is like, hey, let's go out and pray in the dark.
Yeah.
What?
But like Jesus is, if Jesus is like that, emotional, which I imagine that he is in these moments, and the disciples are just like not getting it. I'm like, you put all of these things together, that they had this big meal. it was very like it was very custom in like Jewish culture. You would drink a lot of wine. Like they did not hold back.
And they were probably already pretty full.
Right.
But then Jesus says, oh, wait, here's some bread. This is my body. Take and eat. And they're like, Jesus, I can't.
And more wine.
Eat. Yeah, and here's more wine. Jesus.
So it's like, I just wonder if they were that with it, in the moment, like if they were honestly of that sober mind
and they
in
still
the moment.
Didn't comprehend, no matter how many times he said, my time is about to end, at the supper, he also said, where I'm going, y'all can't go, but it's happening here soon, y'all. And they're like, whatever. Like, no, it's not. What is he talking about? And then Peter's like, I'm not going to deny you. Jesus, how dare you say that? I would never deny you. So like, they're just not anticipating like what's about to happen. And so, so. But
they, it's just kind of like, it was kind of interesting. Carl and I were talking about this. So, like in Peter and, in one of his letters that we have in the New Testament, says always stay of sober mind. Mm-hmm. And we were like, I wonder if he really learned from this, this experience in the garden,
this
like
does not help you.
I mean, he was not all like thinking straight. But anyway, so let's go on. What happens?
Yeah. So yeah, but and so I know for me in my sermon, I spent a lot of time really focusing on the flesh is weak and the spirit is willing, and which I know that was a big part of it. And that no matter what, even though the flesh is weak, even though we do fail, we do, like, Jesus still invites Peter and the disciples to watch and pray. Mm-hmm. He doesn't tell them, you know what, guys, this isn't working. Y'all go home. Like, just leave me alone if you aren't going to do this. He still tells them, no, wake up, watch and pray. And, he sympathizes with them. I understand the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. And I always took that, like, the flesh is weak part. I did talk about physical, things. I talked about my time on, like, swim team and how, like, you're physically, like, I'm willing. I want to get better. I want to beat the guy next to me. But man, like, when my arms can barely move out of the water and all that. So there is the physical part, but that also goes with our spiritual lives, that we want to be fully in with Christ. We want to be, Christ is who I'm following. I'm going to do everything like Jesus did. But then your flesh being weak is like, well, here are these earthly desires, or here's not fully comprehending how this is going to harm you or other people. And here's so you keep falling away from it because the flesh is weak. Like, if Jesus says, to follow me, you should not be so materialistic, and you shouldn't be so focused on wealth. Oh, I am all in for Jesus. I think I'm going to save up this money and not give this. I think I'm just going to do this. And like,
there's a story about that in the New Testament.
Yeah. It doesn't end
Spoiler alert. They are struck by lightning.
Yeah. But it's that thing, like, you're all in, but then you're like, no. And then I gave some examples in there. I was saying how there's, we know there's people in our lives that we don't get along with. And we know we should still show kindness and love to them. But sometimes that's the spirit. We know we should do that. But the flesh is weak. And so chances are we're going to lash out at them. We're going to say harmful words to them. We're going to talk bad about them behind their backs. And the same thing with other things in our lives that we know we should be giving more and we should be helping people more. Mm-hmm. But then the flesh is weak. We selfishly like, well, I don't have time to do that. No, I need this extra few cents. I can't dare spare that.
Right.
I can't, so we selfishly hang on to it. Mm-hmm. And so we have that. And I even threw in there about, like, we know we shouldn't be hardening people's hearts towards other people. And yet we still share negativity on social media. Like, right. we still just, let me attack this person, or let me just share this about this, and just harden people's hearts towards others. And it's just like, we know we shouldn't do those things, and yet the flesh is weak. Like, for some reason, we just feel like we have to give in to that. And so so here are the disciples. They want to be there with him. They want to be there. And in fact, if anything, it looks like Jesus selected them to come and be with him. So they probably feel honored. Hey, pray with me. Yes, we're going to pray with you. And they fall asleep. And so they're not praying. They're not fully in there yet.
Right,
and so, so that was kind of the big, some of my big things. And I know both Christy and we talked about the Olympics as, it's not too far away. It just ended like a week or so ago.
Yeah.
And now it's the Paralympics are happening right now. And so it still kind of fits in the theme of this competition and all this. And I talked about the biathlon.
Oh.
And how there was 2 French athletes and they have these incredible the women in this mass start, she won her race, but she had 2 penalty laps she had to do. She had to go extra meters. And then the French guy he got bronze in his, but man, he had to do 4 penalty laps because he kept missing his targets. But they didn't give up, though. And at one point, they were like so far back in the field, but they just stayed consistent with it. And I saw this in this passage saying, the disciples fell asleep. We're going to mess up. Just keep going at it. Don't just give up, because Jesus doesn't tell them to give up. Jesus invites them, come and pray. So these biathletes, they're sitting there, dang, I missed this target. I'm in 20th place out of 30. I should just quit. Like, what's the point of this? Like, I should just quit right now. No, they just keep going. He finishes 3rd place. She finishes 1st place. And it's just like, geez, like, just keep at it. So I saw a thing of resiliency in this passage as well, is that, God's not going to give up on you. Jesus doesn't give up on his disciples and all that. So
that's good.
So what about you and your sermon?
Yeah.
You touch on the Olympics as well.
I did. I talked
about the quad god.
Yes.
The quad god.
Ilya Malinin.
I always forget his name. I just say the quad god.
But yeah, that's why I'm like, I mentioned his nickname because, and I don't know if you knew this, Chad, I feel like you probably did, but for our dear listeners, if you didn't know this, Ilya Malinin, aka the quad god, his nickname, he got this nickname because he is the only person in history to ever be able to do all 6 quadruple jumps consistently and land them.
And that's a lot. Like, because usually you may hear triple axel, right?
Right.
Or a triple Lutz or something like that. And that's 3.
3 rotations
and this
in
is
the air.
flat land. There's no ramps.
No.
It's just them skating fast and jumping and just spinning out of control. I guess they're in control.
So he can do 4 full rotations midair, which
if you've ever seen photographs,
crazy.
Have you ever seen photographs of figure skaters' faces when they're spinning?
No. I haven't.
It's wonderful, and I'm sure they hate it because they do not look graceful. They're like, faces all distorted from spinning so fast. So.
No, it's wild. But anyway, he competed.
So he's able to do this feat that hardly anybody could.
Yes. And he got everyone excited because, he just was like a phenomenon, like people were like, oh my gosh. And then he also did the first backflip on the ice that was legal.
Illegal. You have to make sure you specify because someone did.
Not first ever.
Yeah, because that girl, I feel bad I don't know her name, but she did it back in like the 90s, or 80s and 90s. 70s, I think. Yeah, and so she did it, but it was illegal. And here comes this guy. He does it. Now everyone's like, oh, he's doing it. It's like, y'all, it's been done.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I see what you're saying. The last legal one was in like the 70s or late 60s or something like that. So anyway, he comes back. He does the first legal backflip, which, gets everyone really excited. And then like all of this quad stuff, it's just crazy. And he was literally like positioned to take the gold and everything. Like everybody, all the commentators, when I was like listening to, the commentators before he, did the men's free skate and just anything you'd see about him online, it was all like as if he already got the gold. Because
they judge it on like your style and how well you could do certain things, but then some of the tricks he's going to do, some of his jumps, their difficulty gives them a much higher rate. So if he just does everything else looking smooth and artistic and pretty, then he's on the same level as everyone else. But then he does these extra jumps. It's like there's no competing with him then because he's doing something that adds a whole bunch of extra points, but he has to be able to land them nicely though.
Yeah. So everyone's talking about him like he's got it in the bag. And then it comes to the men's free skate, which was like the event that, he should have just gotten the gold. I mean, he was going to do all these amazing jumps and land them like he had been. And after the event, he, was telling the press, like because they asked him what happened. And he was like, the pressure just, the pressure just got to me of the Olympic stage. Because during the event, he fell like all the way to the ground twice. And and it was just devastating. So while he was positioned to get the gold medal, he fell to 8th place and didn't even get a medal at all. Yeah. Which was just so heartbreaking because and I talked about this in the sermon, right? Like that when you're an Olympian, everything else in your life is positioned around that. Like everything else in your life is to build towards being an Olympian and like to get the gold medal. So it's like the exercise and the food you eat and like how you plan your day. Like everything is about being an Olympian.
You better like that sport because
that's your life.
Especially those type of things. It's always interesting some of the other sports that aren't as like main stage as figure skating, like the Summer Olympics. People who do shot put and all that, they have other jobs. Yeah. And then they come out and they compete. And
so everything becomes like very routine, and very ritualistic even, I guess you could use that word, with being an Olympian. It's like, these are the things I do to keep myself in a place to, be in healthy competition, right? So that I can, continue to compete for the gold. And so when someone fails like that, it's just so heartbreaking. And let me also just say, I didn't get to say this in the sermon, but he's a great guy. He actually won the Sportsmanship Award because he embraced the winner of the men's free skate. So just like, fully and, cheerfully. And, you could just see that he had joy for that other, the other person who did win. Even though this was like directly after a big, failure on his part, that he was expected to take the gold and like didn't medal at all. And he still just like embraced the winners. So he did win an award for that just because that was really honorable. And he wasn't ugly about losing or anything like that.
He probably realized it was him, right? Like,
he was just
he realized he messed up.
I made mistakes. Yeah. I let the pressure get to me. So all that illustration is all to say that like Peter in this story is like definitely going for gold. And like every other disciple, I think if we were disciples at that table at the Last Supper and we heard Jesus tell Peter, you're going to deny me 3 times. And Peter's like denying that could ever be a possibility to Jesus at the dinner. And all the other disciples would probably be like, what? Peter? No way. Like,
yeah, that guy.
Not Peter. I mean,
it's like the kid in your class that is like gonna ace,
right?
Like, gonna get everything, but then they come back with like a C, and you're like, what? How did they do that?
Right. It's like just the shocking turn of events because it was like Peter was the gold medalist of disciples. He was like the one that was always willing to try, always willing to like be next to Jesus.
He tried to walk on water. He tried to do that with he had enough faith to actually take a step.
Yes. I mean, he's the only one, right? And not to mention, Peter was, of all the disciples, he was one of the 3 that was in the inner circle of Jesus invited into the garden.
And saw
right?
that, and they saw the transfiguration and all. But then now they are invited in the garden.
And we asked, we talked last week with Shannon, right? The inner onion friends. Like he's an inner onion friend. Like he is the inner circle of Jesus.
He'll make you cry.
Yeah. So he is in this position that you're like, no way is Peter's going to take the gold. Like Peter would die with Jesus for sure. Like there's no way he's going to deny Jesus. And so when Jesus is saying to him in the garden that the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak, he's saying those words to Peter.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, in some ways, a word of warning about like what is imminently about to happen because, Jesus is about to be arrested. The plot is really about to take a turn. But also, he needs to hold on to these words for like these critical moments coming up when the pressure is really going to turn up and get intense. And, I'm just thinking about like that in the, with that illustration of the Olympians and stuff. It's like we can do all of the like daily activities of a Christian life, you know, ritualistically, and routinely, right? We can like do all the good Christian things, pray before our meals, and we can, you know, like do a Bible study, and we go to church every Sunday, and we volunteer, and we give money in the offering plate, and like all of these things. But when the pressure gets really intense in life, and not just like that we face trials, but like even like the, you know, we face things that are like forbidden desires, right? Like, or addiction that, you know, rises up in our life again, because like we oftentimes we lean towards self-medicating with things, right? Whatever the things might be, it's like when that pressure turns up, we cannot just rely on all of, I mean, we need that. We need the good like routine. Yeah. We need the good rhythm in our life, but we also need to know we need Jesus. It's like that watch and pray. Like we actually can't do this on our own. No. There's no way that we can order our life so well that we're like, I've got it. I don't need you, God. That's why it's like in the moment, it's like pray. And, you know, like Paul says, pray without ceasing. I mean, like truly pray without ceasing, because every hour we need God. Every moment we need God. And when the pressure turns up and it gets intense, it's that much harder to rely on all of those things that we think we can order our life with and be okay. And so it's like, you know, this word of, you know, kind of warning.
Yeah.
Watch and pray.
It reminds me of the parable of the sower, and like, because a lot of people they're the seed that falls in the rocky soil, and they're doing all the things, they're growing, right. It's all fine, but then the sun scorches it because they're not deeply rooted. Right. It's that watch and pray. It's that really embracing everything about Christ is what helps us drive in the deeper roots. So when we are pressed, when we are challenged, when we are facing something, it keeps us still growing in that. That, and then we also see it in the Paul's doo-doo passage that we talked about, which I will say the men at Coffee just loved that it's called that. You know,
I bet they did.
I was hoping you and Carl would call it that. But I never heard y'all say it.
I didn't.
Leave it to me to do it in a traditional
service. I know. It's very Chad.
That's what I call the doo-doo passage of Paul. Because that is from Romans 7 verses
15 to 20.
Yes.
That's what I read.
Yes. Or sometimes 14 to 20.
14, it does start at 14.
But yeah, and that's that very, if you haven't read that verse, I challenge you to open up your Bibles and just read it out loud, just go at it and just see how well you do, because it's it's like a tongue twister.
Oh my gosh.
I do not do what I want to do, but I do the things I don't want to do, and I do that, and it's just like,
I read that in the element service.
You slowed down. I could tell you were like,
I was like, and then immediately after I finished reading that, I was like, and Paul could not have written that in a more confusing way, and everyone just like burst into laughter, because it was like, because everyone's probably reading it like, what?
Once I finished reading it during the 10:30 service, I finished reading it, someone close in the front row just kind of went, huh. They just kind of like, huh. Just aloud, like, geez, that was a difficult passage.
Oh. I know, and you read it and you're kind of like, starting to read like, I do not do what I want. You know, you're sort of like, oh, that was a negative statement.
Yeah. He does.
Like, can we use contractions here?
I don't do what I do, but I. What was it like for someone to translate that in the original language? Like, were they like, okay, what the heck is this?
Someone is having like a real spiritual moment, like, you know, all of these letters, you know, or all of this like scripture, and then they get to Paul's letters and they're like, what the heck? What are you saying? Oh, yeah. But anyway, the doo-doo verses.
Yeah, the doo-doo verses. So that was a very good, I felt like it related really well to this passage, because the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Paul, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. He knows what he needs to do, but he fails to do it. But he knows what he's not supposed to do, but he does it. Like, so the flesh is weak. He keeps falling into bad habits. He keeps not doing his best.
I mean, as confusing as that verse is written, it is so relatable. You know? Yeah. I mean, like, and I think it's it's important too to name like who is writing this. It's Paul. Again, we know that. We've said that, but like think about Paul and all of the things that he did
and his leadership
for the kingdom of God, you know? Like I mean, he planted all of these churches. He taught people about Jesus and the truth, and he wrote like half of the New Testament. Like this is the guy we're talking about who's saying, I struggle with this too. And like again, going back to Peter, inner circle of Jesus. If you think you're the exception and you don't struggle with this, or that you don't have to watch and pray like Jesus tells Peter to, who's in the inner circle, or Paul, who like, you know, wrote all of this, you know, all of these passages, all of these things in the New Testament and planted all these churches. If you think you're the exception, like, oh my gosh, no, you are not. No one is. No one is an exception to that.
I do understand what you're going through.
Right.
No,
I mean,
and he humbles himself. Yes, and that's what we need to hear. But at the same time, the message that we also get from this is, because what we see even for Paul, he continues to move forward. He doesn't quit. So, okay, you failed to do the right thing. Well, you know what? Keep going.
Right.
Just like Quad God, yes, he messed up, but, you know, he finished his routine.
Oh, absolutely.
He doesn't just quit. I feel like I was like, dang it, and just take off my skates and go home.
It's always really honorable to see that, you know, and like, you know, Peter, and obviously we fast forward in the story, and we talked about this just, you know, not that long ago, you know, Peter on the beach with Jesus, and Jesus says, do you love me? You know, do you love me? Do you love me? And he's reinstating Peter after this situation that he's, you know, talking about, that is going to happen in the garden, right? And from the Last Supper, that Peter's going to deny him 3 times. That beach scene is you know, kind of coming and closing the loop on that. But it's like, you know, there's this grace, you know, I said in my sermon that no one's an exception to the rule that, you know, sin can, you know, come and knock on your door, and it's going to be tempting to everybody. Yeah. But there's also no exception to God's grace either. Yeah.
It's always going to be there. And I brought up a John Wesley quote, just reiterating that, you know, the Holy Spirit's always with you, is always pulling you. Now, this is my words, but I'm paraphrasing, but it's just like, you know, the Holy Spirit's always working in you to pull you to what you're supposed to be doing. And every person has this, but sometimes we stifle it. Sometimes we deny it. And so then we go off in this other direction. So we just need to really trust in the Holy Spirit, and we can learn that from, you know, about gathering in church. You know, we can learn together about what we should be doing, hearing stories from other people, and just kind of seeing like how, you know, how to avoid the sin, avoid times that could be hurting other people.
Right. And just leaning in, you know, instead of withdrawing, when the pressure gets intense with whatever it is that you're dealing with, but leaning into that community and leaning into Jesus, and pressing in when the pressure is intense.
So there was we both did.
I was about to say,
we both
I
did.
have to know.
Chad, I did Olympic illustration talking about the biathlon. Christy, you talked about the Winter Olympics, talking about figure skating. Carl, he talked about parasitic worms.
What did he say?
What a perfect...
What did he say? I need to know. Did you listen?
Yes, I did. And the men at the coffee, what was funny was the men at coffee this morning, someone who was there and they heard it, they were explaining it. And one of our other guys who was at the traditional service, he was hearing it for the first time, and his jaw was open going, what is this? And so you'll have to go and listen to Carl's to fully get it. But pretty much what he was explaining was they have this, for his kids, they have this butterfly kit. And in that butterfly kit, maybe for monarchs. I don't know, Christy.
No,
I don't know.
Not monarchs. They're probably painted ladies, but go on.
Painted lady. They have this butterfly kit, but this kit is very it comes with this layer of protection where air can still breathe, but they have like this kind of netting. He said like a cheesecloth, and it's to keep bacteria out, because there can be harmful bacteria that could get into the caterpillars, which then results in, I don't know, I'm confused. But
death, probably.
Yeah. But the main thing he was saying was these worms, these
parasitic worms?
Flatworms, or something like that. How they can infest themselves into all right, so it starts with a snail. A snail eats these bird droppings. The bird droppings have these eggs that have these parasitic worms in it. So then the worms hatch inside of the snail, and then takes over the snail. It takes over the snail to where snails are nocturnal and they want to stay in cool, dark places.
So they're like...
It leads them up to branches.
They're like possessed.
Yeah.
Oh my
like
gosh.
a zombie or like, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So these parasitic, they infest the snail that leads them up the tree and branches during daytime. So then, and they mimic the eyes of the snail to look like a caterpillar. Because then a bird sees that and the bird eats it. But now the bird has these eggs inside of it.
Ew.
And so then it does more droppings, and then a snail eats this bird, and the cycle of life for this worm just continues. Like, and so
that's so gross.
I'm just imagining, if you ever preached at West, it's pretty dark out there. I wish he would have turned up the lights to see everyone's faces. Like, what are you talking about?
And right now, actually, I brought in snails.
Yeah. No, he said he had a video to show, but he did not want to. He didn't do it. So, but essentially, it was just talking about sin. Taking over and it's leading you to do stuff that you wouldn't typically do. It's infesting in you. So he talked about that, but then also talked about how in this environment, you put this layer of protection, that cheesecloth thing. It's this layer of protection to the caterpillars who become a butterfly. Like, to them, they're just like, oh, this is my environment. This is just what I live in. And in a way, like, we are just living in an environment, and God offers us this type of protection as well. And if only we, and we may not realize this. And so we need to trust in the Spirit and all that. So I don't know if I did that justice, Carl. I don't know if I did, but listen to it, because then he then goes on. He talks about the doo-doo passage as well.
But he doesn't call it that.
He reads it pretty quickly too. And, but then his, it all aligns kind of with what we're saying as well. So yeah, but it was just interesting. The two Olympic themes and then a parasitic worm.
You really can have it all here at St. Peter's.
Yeah, it's wonderful. But yeah, so good. I don't know. It was fun.
Sunday.
It was a fun sermon to write for me. It took me a while to get into it, but then eventually I started getting into it and looking up the biathlon stuff. It got me really happy to do that. And so
I really enjoyed this one.
Yeah,
it was a bummer that it was a spring break week, and it was arguably the worst Sunday of the year.
Are they still talking? But, so join us next week as we continue in the pressing, as we just move forward, talk more about these events happening within the Garden of Gethsemane. All right, so let's get to our media shout out, ministry shout out. I know, media.
Wow, what were you looking at?
I don't know. Ministry shout out. So I do want to shout out to the men's Bible study. They meet on Mondays over at Humble Grounds over in the Fulsher one, not the old Katy one, Old Town Katy one, but the one in Fulsher, close to 1463. If you ever want to join them on a Monday at 7 a.m., feel free to do that. Then I'm sure they would love to have you. But then also we want to get a ministry shout out to this was the offertory moment on Sunday, and it was the gathering, and I think we've given them a shout out before, but this is just a special ministry. The gathering is a time for it's a place
care.
Respite care. It's a place for people who may be having memory care issues. Maybe they have dementia, maybe they have Alzheimer's, whatever it may be. And so it's a time for those people to come together and to have a time of fellowship. They play games, they do crafts, they hear music, they get to dance, like line dancing this last time. They did some line dancing. And so it's a fun time for them. We have church volunteers helping out with it, coordinating it, and arranging the food and everything like that. But this time also allows this time off for the caregivers. This might be the only time, one of the very few times they have to actually just go and be by themselves, to go do a grocery run or something like that. And so it really is this very special ministry. And to me, it just shows that these are not forgotten people.
Right.
These are not just helpless, hopeless, like forgotten people. These are people like, hey, what if we had this time where we meet and we just treat them with dignity and we have fun? And yeah, it's always a very special thing. And so the gathering, it meets usually here at St. Peter's. They do meet at other churches. They meet lots of places.
Yeah, the gathering's a big organization.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that we're able to have our own chapter and kind of here. And so it is, they meet the fourth Wednesdays of each month. And in fact, coming up here soon, the next time they're meeting is their big Easter celebration. We do a big Christmas one as well, and then here's their Easter one. So we're looking forward to celebrating that with them here at the gathering.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we hope you all have a good, safe spring break.
That's right.
Yeah.
Wherever, if you're traveling,
yeah,
you can take us on the road with you, get some
Oh,
good
gosh.
laughs.
Yeah. And if you're at the airports, good luck. And it's like long lines
And if
everywhere.
you're here in Houston and just, enjoying this overcast weather.
Yeah, so just be careful if you eat any snails. Avoid the snails that are out in the daytime and climbing up the trees.
Escargot for me.
Yeah, don't do that. So anyways, we hope you learned something today. But we'll see you all next week on the Next Day Podcast.
See you next time.